Is Julia de Burgos an immigrant tragedy? Is Luis Muñoz Marín a successful returning migrant? The legacies of many prominent figures in Puerto Rican history have influenced how Puerto Ricans, both on the archipelago and in the diaspora, perceive themselves, their nation, and their aspirations for the future. However, these legacies have many nuances and alternative interpretations that can take a life of their own in the collective memory. During changing tides that redefined and reshaped Puerto Rican culture and identity, Julia de Burgos and Luis Muñoz Marín have become examples of individuals who, due to the rethinking of their lives and legacies, have been interpreted as monumental figures in Puerto Rico's national history and paradoxical models of the tragedies and successes of the Puerto Rican migrant experiences. Julia de Burgos was a poet born in Carolina, Puerto Rico. She emerged as a figure during the Latin explosion of New York City in the 1960s after her tragic death in 1953. Julia de Burgos inspired and influenced various Latino artists and writers as part of the civil rights movement of the 1960s, where women of color sought to correct the elisions and omissions of writers, artists, and intellectuals of color in the historical records and the literary canon. Latina writers reclaimed Burgos and struggled to have her recognized in literary history. Her memory and iconography have been debated and reshaped in New York City. Facing a lack of archival material, writers and scholars consistently use myths to discuss Burgos' life and legacy, resulting in a fusion of mythology of her memory. Though much has been debated about Julia de Burgos as a figure and her life, many artists are less concerned about the mythologies and instead create a shared memory. For instance, in the act of remembering Julia de Burgos, visual artists are less concerned with finding the true Julia. Rather, they create sites of memory that are at once collective and individual, mediating our relationship to the past, the present, and the future. Before becoming the first democratically elected governor of Puerto Rico, Luis Muñoz Marín attended Georgetown University and moved to New York City after his father's death in 1916. He founded the popular Democratic Party in 1938, ultimately dismaying party members and supporters of independence by shifting his agenda towards a free associated state. As elected governor, he successfully advocated for Commonwealth status in Puerto Rico, even when other parties favored independence. By 1952, Puerto Rico had a new constitution and, perhaps more importantly, a political status that synergized with Muñoz's economic vision. Ruiz Toro. In his poetry, status, and lectures, Muñoz Marín assured his audience he was a champion of the Puerto Rican people and always tried to alleviate the nation and its people of poverty and hunger, which he strongly believed was through Commonwealth status, a symbol of modernization with only a semblance of autonomy, given the fact that Puerto Ricans on the archipelago have no voting power on United States issues related to them. Paradoxical or not, confronted with economic realities, Muñoz Marín struggled and adjusted his position. He did not live long enough, however, to witness the long-standing consequences of the petrochemical industry's collapse, the ongoing results of socioeconomic dependence on the United States, or a stable resolution of Puerto Rico's political status question. Perhaps the tragedy is that both poets advocated for Puerto Rico's liberation at one time in their life and work and were unable to see a free Puerto Rico. However, in rethinking their lives and legacies, They were true proponents for a better life for Puerto Ricans and have been cemented as monumental figures in Puerto Rico's national history during changing tides that have redefined and reshaped Puerto Rican identity and culture.